Bienvenido, mi gente. I am Luis Martinez, and today I welcome you to my house, which I'm so excited about. And we're cooking something that is extremely just something that I love to make. It's probably my number 2 favorite recipe to make, and we're making habichuelas rosadas. This recipe is straight from my grandma's kitchen. It's something that I watched her make since I was a little boy, and it stuck with me. When I got older, my father also made some sick ass beans, and I learned one trick from him that I'll be showing you today as well. So I'm super excited for you to be here. I'm super excited for you to be watching, and let's get started. We're going to be talking about the ingredients first, and once again, incredibly simple, something that you can do at home. And one great thing about this recipe is that you can really change the grain. You can go from habichuelas rosadas to maybe pinto beans, red kidney beans, garbanzo beans. It doesn't necessarily have to be just the red beans, the pink beans that we're making today. So with the ingredients, let's start with sofrito. Sofrito is that product we made last week. You should go back and watch if you have not watched it. This sofrito is what we make in house and what we use in every single recipe. Olive oil, my favorite oil to use for cooking. Tomato sauce. This particular tomato sauce I did not make. It's just from a can. I like to use no sodium. I like to try to not use tomato sauce with sugar in it, but just regular tomato sauce. Pimiento morrón. Pimiento morrón in this recipe is gonna add that final touch of flavor. This is roasted red peppers. You can also find this in your local grocery shop. And then going into the seasonings, I like to mix my seasonings at home with the seasonings that I find. I always suggest that when you cook, you explore. Open up your pantry, think about the flavors that you really love. A recipe is just a space so you can learn what path you want to take, but you don't have to take everything I say and do. Explore, be creative, and be you. So with this spice mix that I made today, it is oregano, cumin, coriander, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and that is gonna be my spice mix. Pumpkin calabaza is something incredibly hard to find in the United States in your local grocery stores, but butternut squash or yellow squash is just perfect ingredient for you to replace. And then we're gonna be using a little bit of sugar. Sugar is that secret ingredient that I mentioned that my father taught me. I used to go to his apartment growing up, and he would make these beans that would blow my mind, and I used to be like, what is in this ingredient? Sugar. It cuts acidity levels when we're using things like tomato sauce or using herbs that do create a lot of acid in the food. Kind of mellows it out. So we're gonna be using a little bit of sugar. And last but not least, the beans. The beans are currently in the Instapot, but you can always use canned beans. It doesn't have to be that you make everything at home. So this, for example, is just pinto beans. Open them up, drain them, wash them, and then use them for the recipe. That's okay. So we're gonna be moving forward into the stove very soon, and we'll be back. The first ingredient is gonna be your olive oil. It's going to be about 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Puerto Rican food is all about layers. Layers of flavor, layers of patience, layers of heat, and allowing our ingredients to open up their flavor profiles. So, right once this olive oil is hot enough, we're gonna start adding the sofrito. Then we're gonna allow this to sofreír. I'm gonna repeat that one more time. Sofreír. Sofreír is when we allow those initial spices to heat up and start stir frying in our pots. For the batch that I'm making, I'm gonna add about 4, ooh, that sound. We're gonna add about 4 spoons. And that sound, that's sofreír. That's where you want to start getting that sound, allowing those flavors to really open up. Your house is just going to smell like sofrito. That's a Puerto Rican household right there. Going to school, smelling like sofrito, coming from work, smelling like sofrito. Just, it's the smell. Once this is ready, we're gonna keep adding the ingredients that we had spoken about. So I feel like we're ready to start adding the beans. The beans are gonna be important to add to the step to allow them to start absorbing flavor. Today I actually softened the beans at home using an Instapot, but you're able to use canned beans as well. These are Habichuelas rosadas, pink beans. You can also use pinto beans, garbanzos for this recipe. White northern beans I think would be really great in this recipe as well. So versatile. And this is the second layer. What we want to do is allow this to heat up, create a boil before we continue adding ingredients to it. The next ingredient I would start adding is the tomato sauce. Something that is quite funny but very true is I can't really tell you how much I'm putting into the food. I saw this meme once that said, when a Hispanic person is cooking or a Puerto Rican person is cooking, there's an ancestor on your shoulder that says, un poquito más. And let me tell you, that's so true. I have this little devil in my shoulder that's always like, un poquito más, un poquito menos. It tells me what to add to my food. And I really can't tell you how much I add to ingredients. But what I can say is that for a recipe like this, about 4 tablespoons of tomato sauce is the perfect amount, probably. It's gonna start thickening that sauce, el líquido. And we're gonna continue to add more ingredients. After this, I would move forward with our spices. Our spices, I'm very confident that this is as much spice as we would need. Very little salt because I like to add salt at my end. You can always add salt, but you can never remove how much salt we add to our food. Once I add those spices, you just immediately smell the aroma. It just, boom, you just grab it, it smells fantastic. And what we want to do is allow this to simmer a little bit before we continue to add the other ingredients. I am going to add just a tad bit of water during this process. This will allow the liquid to continue to thicken up. So we're back at this perfect simmer again. It's perfect enough to really add the next ingredient. I'm gonna add los pimientos morrones to this. This is about, I would say, 4 tablespoons again of pimiento morron, including that liquid that the red roasted peppers are sitting in. That liquid has the flavor. Make sure that you add into that. Let it simmer just a little bit, because right after this we're gonna start adding the final ingredients, which is gonna be your pumpkin, your cilantro, and then the sugar. It's been a pleasure cooking at my home with you guys. I live in this household with my partner, 3 dogs, and a cat. It's been a really fun time to cut in and cut out and hear my cat meowing and my dogs barking in the other room. It's very special. Mostly because this recipe, every time I make it, it's home. This beans are home to me. It's something that I personally love to eat with bread. Un pan sobao con una habichuela y un canto de aguacate. What I just said was Puerto Rican bread, beans, and a slice of avocado, a little bit of salt. Mano, eso es vida. That's my life right there. So we're about to add our last 2 ingredients. Cilantro or recao if you have it. If you are able to find recao, use recao. But I couldn't, so I'm using cilantro. You have to add a big chunk of cilantro. You can either cut it in half or simply just put it into the pot. This will allow it to simmer down and do its own thing. Add a little bit of sugar. This one I will tell you how much I'm adding. Sugar is something that you do have to measure because you don't want it too sweet. I added about a tablespoon of sugar. And I'm not going to add the whole thing. What I'm going to start doing now is testing to see if this is the right flavor that I want. Enough salt, enough pepper, enough sugar. So I'm going to do a little mix. And then I'm going to get... I'm going to do something bien boricua aquí. I'm going to start dipping this and letting you know if it's good. If you were in my grandma's house, you would like walk behind her and be like, Abuela, déjame probar, and then you try it. That's it. Yeah. That is una habichuela rosa. I'm just gonna do a little dab of salt. I think that would just brighten that flavor. And that's all I would add to that. That to me is perfect. So we're gonna let this simmer for another 25 minutes. We wanna make sure that the pumpkin has completely cooked through. And then we're ready to eat. Eat these beans. I just wanna let you know, the scent that's coming out of this is just beyond. It's one of my favorite scents. Habichuelas are so special to me. So, thank you so much for joining me. If you have enjoyed this video, please watch, subscribe, share, and thank you so much. And I hope you have a good day, a good night. Depends where you are. And remember that la comida criolla is live. This is, it's just so special to me. This is amazing. Thank you.